Welcome back to Brews and Bets. My name is Steve Ricciardi, and I'm throwing it right to CG, the birthday boy. How we doing, buddy? Happy birthday to you.
I appreciate that, fellas. Yeah, not feeling the best right now. Had to leave work a little bit early. Had a chest x-ray, have either bronchitis or pneumonia, but hey, it is what it is. Putting that on the back burner and excited to talk some fights with you guys.
Yeah, the show must go on.
Show must go on. Yep. I have my hot toddy right here. I don't have a beer, so I have some, whiskey, honey, green tea. So we'll make do.
Yeah, what would Bill Lambier do is basically the theme for your night.
Bill Lambier would be drinking whiskey right out of the bottle like that. That's what he would be doing.
Yeah, he would.
I'm not as tough as he is.
Ty Slice, let me ask you this one question. How many Mets stacks do you have tonight?
You mean Philly stacks?
I'm sorry, Philly stacks. Hey, you don't want the Mets stacks. I'm
Man, 10 runs in the first inning. That's crazy. I ended up playing one of their stacks on Fantasy Draft. It's looking good right now. Hopefully my pitching can come through.
Well, again, in GPPs, you only need one, right? So
yeah, but you still got to hit the pitching. I'm trying for first place.
All right. So let's get this show on the road. We have UFC on ESPN, number 7. It's a long name. So it's UFC St. Petersburg, 12 fights. A lot of these guys, it's going to be tough because we think that a lot of fights are actually going to finish. We also are a little concerned because a lot of these guys haven't fought in the UFC yet. So we're a little concerned with their I guess their previous opponents and how good they are and if they're going to be able to carry out these game plans, against UFC opponents. So CG, first fight of the night, let's throw it right to you. You can introduce the fight. Magomed Mustafiev and Rafael Fiziev. I'm probably butchering the name, but CG, go ahead.
Yeah, I have Mustafiev versus Fiziev. So Fiziev really impressed me when I was watching his fights. The guy's 6-0, 5 wins by KO, and he has 1 submission. His Muay Thai is on point. He trains in Thailand, has vicious, unrelenting striking. He has good technique. He's extremely powerful, and he goes in there for the finish. Mustafiev hasn't fought in 2 years. He's coming off a loss to Kevin Lee. But in all fairness, he is 13-2, all 13 wins coming by finish. And I'm assuming he's the better grappler in this fight. But from what I saw from Fiziev, I like him enough to take a chance on him. And if I'm going to bet on anybody in this fight, I'm going to bet on him. And right now he is plus 140. And I think if he wins this fight, he will win inside the distance. And his line for that is plus 228 to win inside the distance. So I like Fiziev in this fight. He's one of my favorite dogs on the card.
Yeah, I'm going to second the fight against Kevin Lee. I was pretty impressed with what he did in that fight. He actually broke his forearm. I believe it was on one of those spinning back fists that he threw in round 1. So he either broke like his wrist or his forearm, and that was the reason why he was out so long. But he was very aggressive. I personally, I kind of like Mustafiev. If I know that he's going to be the same fighter after the two and a half year layoff, I kind of like him here, CG. I don't know, exactly how he finishes, but I think that he's going to be the better grappler, and I think he's going to be able to kind of grind him out a little bit, at least early in the fight. But Todd, what do you think here? Any bets that you like?
Yeah, I actually wasn't impressed at all with his fight versus Kevin Lee. He got taken down seven times in that fight, which shows me he's going to want to stand up in this fight unless he added something to his game. But I just don't see that he could learn that in this amount of time, especially coming off the injury. He's going to want to kickbox, and he's facing a better kickboxer. Fiziev is a 4-time Kyrgyzstan champion, or Kazakhstan. Yeah, Kyrgyzstan in Russia. It's their Muay Thai champion, and he actually won the came in second in the World Muay Thai Championships in 2009. He comes with hard leg kicks. He just breaks his opponent down, and I think that if this stays standing, this is going to be pretty one-sided, and you're getting him at plus 140 right now. I like that a lot.
Interesting. So
I'll just say I think you bring up a good point, Steve. I mean, we don't know if Fiziev can grapple, and if Mustafiev gets it to the ground, Fiziev might not get back up. But if it remains standing, I definitely like Fiziev in this fight. Why has there been a 2-year layoff? Does anybody know? I mean, has there been an injury, a suspension? Because I'm looking through this list of Russians on the card. Hate to say it, but you can almost assume that about half of them have either been popped or are going to be popped by USADA.
Yeah, that is, and again, if anyone hasn't seen the movie Icarus, I mean, we could just assume that everybody from Russia, is part of the state-sponsored doping scheme that was going on at this point. And again, a lot of these guys, they don't leave Russia, right? A lot of these guys just stay there and fight whenever cards are over in, I guess, Eastern Europe. I don't know. I kind of liked the way that he fought Kevin Lee. I thought that he got the better of Kevin Lee on the feet, and I thought that's why Kevin Lee brought him down. And again, Kevin Lee kind of brings everybody down. The one guy he kind of didn't bring down most recently was Ayala Quinte. He got him down a few times, but didn't get him down, late in that fight, and that's kind of why he lost that fight. But
well, my problem with that is Mustafayev really wasn't able to stuff really anything. And I know Kevin Lee's a solid wrestler, but it shows that he doesn't have, at that point in his career, he didn't have much in terms of grappling, which leads me to believe that this fight's going to stay standing and he's facing a better kickboxer.
Ty, do you think it's going to finish?
I think it could finish, but I don't really think that you need to play that if you're already getting plus money on Fiziev.
Right.
I'll just take the plus 140, and then however he wins, it doesn't really matter to me.
All right, so we'll get right into the second fight. Ty, I'll throw this one to you since my son just came for a visit. So Antagulov and Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Ty, what do you think about this one?
Oh, man. So a lot of these fights on this card I'm not too excited about. It's kind of – I really don't know why they placed this fight card like they did after such a good event last week. Having back-to-back with this, it's kind of disappointing. That being said, Antagulov has horrible striking defense, and I think that I don't even know how to say his last name, Michael. I'll just go with Michael. I think that he's going to be able to pick him apart on the feet. I'm not that confident about it, but minus 210, I think I might throw him in some parlays, but I don't feel really, really good about this fight.
CG, why don't you take give a little take on this one too? In agreement with Ty, I think the biggest thing with Antagulov is that first round. He's real dangerous when he comes out of the chute there.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I think Oleksiejczuk is a legit prospect, and his win over Roundtree looks a lot better after this past Saturday, after seeing what Roundtree did to Eric Anders. And then he went after that and obliterated John Vellante with a body punch in the first round of his last fight. Antagulov is coming off KO loss to Cutelaba, and before that, he beat two cans in Rogerio de Lima and Joaquim Christensen. So I think Oleksiejczuk should cruise in this fight. He lands 5.4 strikes per minute, almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's just a legit prospect. What concerns me a little bit is these Russian judges. If Oleksiejczuk wins, I think he needs to win inside the distance. I mean, if any of these fights with the Russians go to the judges, I mean, can we assume and trust that they're going to make the right call? That's what concerns me about this card. So if I'm going to bet against a Russian, I want to be pretty damn sure that they're going to finish the damn fight. But I think Oleksiejczuk has a good chance to finish, but I don't have enough confidence to bet him on the spot.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. And I'll go a step further. I just don't think that the judges are, on the night, yes, the judges are going to come into play. This fight specifically, though, I don't think it's going to the judges. I think that this is going to finish within 2 rounds. I don't think we even see a 3rd round. Again, if you just look up and down Antagulov, he doesn't really have a great gas tank. Even Ian Cutelaba last fight, everybody kind of thought that Cutelaba was going to be the one to gas if Antagulov really came out and pushed the pace. And it was kind of the complete opposite. Antagulov pushed the pace and then he gassed, and then Cutelaba was able to get the finish. So, and just going by what we saw with Oleksiejczuk, I think that's the best I'm going to be able to pronounce that name. He actually got a 3rd round finish of Roundtree, right? Before it was ruled a no contest. He was able to take down Roundtree, gas him out, and finish that fight late. So I think that 2nd round is all, Oleksiejczuk if it gets there. Antagulov is dangerous within the first 3 minutes.
It says Antoligov is 32 years old. He looks every bit of 55. I mean, he just looks old. Yeah. But going back to the Russian judges, remember the last time the UFC was in Russia, there was a fight with Kabalov versus Cajun Johnson. I thought Cajun Johnson decisively won that fight, and they gave it to Kabalov. So it's just something to take note of.
Yeah, and again, everybody hated Cajun Johnson, right? Doesn't Dana White? He's the one who tried to shake Dana White's hand and then pulled his hand away.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so. All right, Ty. Marcin Tybura and Shamil Abdurakhimov. What do you think about this one? Tybura, his last time out, I believe we haven't seen him since Stefan Struve, right? Which was another one of these Eastern European cards. And then I believe Abdurakhimov was Andrei Arlovsky, right? He beat him in a decision. So who do you think takes this victory here?
Yeah, and these guys' last few fights, they have some similar opponents. They both beat Arlovsky and they both lost to Derek Lewis. You know, at this point in their career, I think that Tybura is the better fighter, and I'm kind of curious as to why they match these guys up. I just think that he could win this fight anywhere. He's the better striker. If he wants, he could probably take this fight to the ground and work some ground and pound. I don't know if he's going to finish, and I kind of sense that this one's going to be a decision. And right now, the odds are minus 155. I'm actually probably going to place money on Tybura at 155.
I actually wrote down over 1.5 rounds as a good play.
Okay.
I don't know if that is a play. I don't know if they set the rounds at 1.5 or 2.5 for this. I didn't see it yet. But fight goes to decision is minus 215. So yeah, they agree with you. CG, what do you think here?
No, I think that's a good bet. Tybura inside the distance plus 305. I like to think that's a good bet too. I mean, there's not too many heavyweight fights that go the distance. And like Ty mentioned, Tybura should be better everywhere in this fight. He's bigger. He has a longer reach. He lands more strikes per minute. He lands more takedowns per fight. He has better takedown defense. I mean, the list goes on and on. Tybura is statistically better everywhere and is 4 years younger than Abdurakhimov, who's damn near 40 years old. So I like Tybura. Just to be safe, I would just bet him to win the fight. But at plus 305, I don't think Tybura winning inside the distance, a long shot.
No, I don't think so either. I think this is really more of a grappler versus striker kind of fight. I think Tybura, I didn't see him having a lot of success against Struve, and against Derek Lewis. Obviously, you don't really want to strike with Derek Lewis because that's a recipe for disaster. But I think Shamil's going to be fine on the feet, and it's going to be pretty even. So it's really going to come down to Tybura getting in the clinch, getting him down. And again, he was able to keep Struve down. He was able to keep Derek Lewis down. Struve really couldn't get up. I think he may have got an underhook once and got up in the fight that I watched. Derek Lewis, he had to wait to the end of the round. Then obviously once Derek Lewis connects on something, that's how he was able to win that fight. But I think Shamil, his only chance is to keep it on the feet. And like you just said, at 37 years old, I have him listed at 37. I think his path to victory is a decision. So Tybura is definitely live to get that finish. And that's a good prop at plus 306. I would even say, let's see. If they come out, I don't see it on here, but if they come out with Tybura KO, TKO, maybe some ground and pounds, I guess with the submission's a possibility. Yeah, I guess that's the best play. I guess you're right with that one. Alexander Yakovlev is the next fight, and Alex De Silva. I really have no idea what to expect here. Yakovlev is coming off a 2.5-year layoff. He had a decent fight with Zach Cummings. He's lost to guys like Kamaru Usman and Damian Maia by decision. He's 2-6 in the UFC. He's a local St. Petersburg guy. So, CG, going by your narrative, if you think that any of these fights, the decision is going to come into play, which it very well could, this may be a guy, Yakovlev, from St. Petersburg, Russia, who could get the benefit of a decision. Alex De Silva, he has lots of – he's 20-1. He has lots of finishes, but he's very young. He's only 23 years old. He was a 145-pound guy. He just moved up to 155 in his last 2 fights, so I'm not really sure how much weight he's cutting for this. Pretty good kicks. but honestly, with the level of competition, I kind of talked about this earlier. I'm just not sure how good he is because of the level of competition. He didn't really seem overly concerned with getting hit, but he probably also didn't think that those guys could hurt him. Yakovlev, I think, may be able to hurt him if he connects, but again, I don't really think he's not that much of a high volume guy. So after 2.5 years of a layoff, 34 years old, I have no idea what to expect here. So I'm not playing anything. I'm going to stay away from it. But if you want to do anything, Yakovlev by decision would be where I go, just playing off that narrative that CG said before. Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, I actually love this play. Yakovlev at -155 is where I'm going, and I'm probably going to bet it pretty heavy. De Silva's kind of an interesting prospect. He has good kickboxing, decent wrestling, but his takedown defense is terrible. I think Yakovlev's going to take him down to the ground and just grind him out. De Silva's decent off of his back, but I don't think that he was really a submission threat from his back. So I think that Yakovlev could take him down, control him, and pretty much be safe to win an easy decision. I'm going to be betting pretty heavy on Yakovlev.
You would play the -155, not Yakovlev by
decision?
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of taking you probably noticed I'm not a huge fan of taking that.
Taking props, yeah.
Taking props. If the line's close enough, and -155, you're not giving up a lot of juice. I don't really think that it's necessary to risk it for the +200 that the decision. So,
CJ, what do you think?
I think this is kind of a tough fight to call. Obviously, Yakovlev is a master of sports and combat sambo. He's battle tested. He went 3 rounds with Damian Maia. He has a win over Paul Daly, a win over Gray Maynard. Lost his last 2, but the champ Usman and Zach Cummings, can't blame him for that. Those are 2 studs. But, Yakovlev has 23 wins, 17 by submission. But he also has 8 losses, was subbed 4 times. And this De Silva, he's a finisher. He's 20-1. He has a 100% finish rate. He has 13 TKOs and 7 submissions. But yeah, I mean, you have to question the competition. He's not nearly as battle tested as Yakovlev. And I would have to side with Yakovlev being the local fighter in St. Petersburg. But I'll tell you what, I mean, watching De Silva, he's not very technical, but the kid is tough. He's relentless, and he's not going to go down without a fight. And would I be completely surprised if De Silva won? No. I mean, the guy's, 11 or 12 years younger. I think he's going to have the better cardio. So to be honest, this fight scares me a little bit because I don't like betting for or against first-time UFC fighters because we just don't know how good they are. Well, so this fight's going to be a pass for me.
Let me cut in real quick. So De Silva's opponents that he's faced have a combined record of 17-28, and 6 opponents were making their debut against him. So I'm not really too concerned with his 20-1 record as being that impressive. Yeah, I just think that he has an overhyped record, and it led him to get to the UFC, and he definitely has some skill, but I don't think that he's near this level yet.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely favor Yakovlev, but like I said, it's like the first time, just for an example, Calvin Kattar, his first UFC fight, he's fighting Andre Fili. I'm like, all right, you got to go Fili, right? The battle-tested UFC vet. And Kattar just came in there and lit his ass up. So it's just one of those things with first-time UFC fighters. I just kind of like to see, take a wait-and-see approach, see if they're UFC caliber, and go from there.
Yeah, I think that Yakovlev has a huge size advantage too. I know that he's 4 or 5 inches taller, and I think that he has a lot longer reach also.
Yeah, I'm seeing that right now. Yakovlev is, I didn't notice that initially. Yakovlev is 6'3", and De Silva's 5'10". Yeah, it doesn't say De Silva's reach here, but yeah. Yeah, I think Yakovlev's the play.
Very interesting. I actually didn't even see De Silva's height or reach or anything on the 2 fights that I watched. But again, they finished pretty quick anyway. All right, Ty, definitely brought something to the table here that I didn't notice.
Not bad one. Not bad one. I'm probably not even going to watch the fights this weekend and be at the A's game.
Yeah, no, that's true too. That's true too. No, but I do. I like that. I do like it now that you sold me on it. Next fight, I'll take this one, and this is Sultan Aliyev and Keita Nakamura, and this is another one that CG. I agree with you. I think that this is going to go to decision. Nakamura has kind of been fighting at range, keeping good distance, and kind of point fighting in his last few fights. I believe like 3 or 4 of his last fights all went to decision. And he has a pretty good track record of winning those decisions too. He looks big to me in the cage. His reach, his height, body size. And then I look and Aliyev's actually an inch taller than him. So I was a little bit surprised with that when I was doing the tape study. Long layoff for Aliyev. His wrestling grappling is his bread and butter. But I'm not sure he's going to get to really, get his hands on Nakamura as much as he wants to. Again, Nakamura has the BJJ. He's got the judo. He's got that judo stance. He wants to, kind of strike from range. So I think it's going to go to decision. So I think right now it's kind of a dog or pass price on Nakamura. He's plus 100 right now. But by the same token, what CG said earlier, that's what I had written down. That was my play, Nakamura. But Aliyev is the local Russian guy, and I think that this may go to decision. So just by that reason, I think I'm going to stay away from it and no plays. CG, what do you think?
I'm in agreement. I think if there's a bet to make for this fight, like you said, it's fight goes to decision at minus 230. Maybe parlay that with something else. This is going to be a boring-ass fight, to be honest. I mean, this is the fight where once it comes on, I'm either going to take a shit or take a quick 20-minute power nap. Nakamura lands more strikes per minute, lands more takedowns per fight than Aliyev. But, I mean, Nakamura just never makes it decisive when it goes to the scorecard. So would I be surprised if Aliyev won a decision? No, not at all. But, it's too shady over there in Russia. This fight's a pass.
Yeah. Ty, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a terrible fight. I think that Aliyev is going to win. I think that he's going to be able to take this fight to the ground, and they're essentially the same fighter. They're just very boring, but I think that he has a path to take this fight to the ground, get top control, and grind out a decision. I'm not going to take anybody. This fight doesn't really excite me at all.
All right, so let's get into this next fight. Let me find the odds. I was listening to you and I forgot to put the odds up here. So this is Movsar Evloev and Seyoungwoo Cho. And I actually like Evloev a lot in this fight. He's the M1 bantamweight champ. A few fights in 2016 were at 145 pounds. But 4 straight fights were at 135. So again, he's fighting here at 145. The only concern is the size. I think that Cho is going to be a little bit bigger than him. But Evloev is the kind of guy who, there's a couple guys here that really should be trained by, Khabib's father. They just basically use their wrestling. They push you up against the cage. They look to grind you out. If you watch any of his film, he had a fight against Rafael Diaz, I believe the guy's name was, and the fight was in the middle of like mountains. Like it was the most beautiful outside arena I've ever seen. So I wouldn't mind going to watch a fight there. But I really think that this guy's a stud. I think he has a bunch of finishes, punches, rear naked chokes, very good ground game, and he can wrestle. He can wrestle. He can get some takedowns. I just don't think he's going to give Cho a chance to really be able to, use his kicks. He likes to kick a lot. I was actually listening to a Korean fight call, and everything else was in Korean except for low kick and head kick. I found it funny that they said those 2 words. He got hit with an overhand right, caught him with a right cross, and good long kick. So, he was actually the TFC champion. Evloev is the M1 bantamweight champ. So I think this is a decent matchup, but I think Evloev's going to take him down and just ground him out. So that's what I can see. And honestly, it may even finish. If I don't know what Cho has on the grounds, But if he doesn't have anything of a ground game, I didn't see it in the film I watched, he could get finished in the ground. So, Ty, I'll throw it right back to you. What do you think here?
Yeah, this is a pretty easy fight. Evloev is going to dominate. He's such a good grappler that is also decent on the feet. I think that he's going to actually be the better striker in this fight. I know that might sound weird in this fight because Choi is known for his stand-up. But I think he's going to have some success on the feet, get it down to the ground, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets either a rear naked choke or finishes on ground and pound. I think right now inside the distance is plus 105, and I know I said I don't like taking props, but in this fight I feel pretty good about that.
Listen, that's all right. Everybody has rules, and you know, if you want to break them, break them. Do what you got to do.
I mean, when you could get that at 105 or him minus 270 in a fight that I think can finish, I'll take that.
No, I agree. And again, inside the distance is probably the play because this guy can definitely get you with the ground and pound, and he could also submit you. So inside the distance is the play here. CG, in agreement? What do you think?
I'm in agreement that Evloev is a fantastic prospect. 10-0, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's only 25, and we'll be talking about this kid for a very long time. They put him in this spot for a reason. Choi, he has a 7-1 record, 5 wins by TKO, but they're bringing Choi in to lose to Evloev. The thing is, a lot of these South Korean fighters, man, they're stoic, they're tough, they're very proud. They will not go out without a fight. And that concerns me to bet Evloev within the distance. So, yeah, to be honest, this is another fight where I just think I might take a wait and see approach. Neither one has any UFC experience. I think Evloev has all the makings of a future contender, but I just want to see it first. He's another fighter that is Russian but trains in Phuket. So a lot of these Russians train in Thailand, which kind of surprises me because I thought they were going to be, you know, putting more emphasis on the sambo, on the grappling. But a lot of these Russian fighters are really big into Muay Thai. So, and I guess that concerns me a little bit because a lot of these South Koreans, you know, they kind of emulate themselves after the Korean Zombie. They have very good striking. So if it's a striking contest, then I don't know. That concerns me a little bit. But, you know, for the most part, Evloev is a very safe play, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be 100% honest. If Evloev doesn't take him down, I would be shocked. Just based on the film that I saw, and again, the fight against Rafael Diaz, I believe it went 5 rounds, and for the most part, I mean, he had him down just about every round. I believe he got the finish in the 5th round, if I remember correctly. I didn't write that down.
You know what this fight reminds me of? This fight reminds me of Peter Yan versus Jinsu Sun. That was UFC Moscow.
Yeah.
You know, Peter Yan was a huge favorite, looked good, but Jinsu Sun put on a good fight. I mean, I think that ended up getting fight of the night. It was back and forth, and, you know, Yan won 30-27, but So Sun made it a fight, and I'm wondering if it's going to be the same thing here, but I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, and even when you look at this, like that fight with Evloev and Rafael Diaz that I keep referencing, Diaz was a black belt BJJ, and Evloev had no problem bringing him down and messing around with him on the ground. You know, trying submissions, putting him in some some tough ground and pound situations, trying to, you know, crucifix and get the arm and pin his arm back. So I think he's going to take him down and just kind of ground him out. So, yeah, no, we'll see. CJ, I know you're not a big fan of this next fight, so Ty, I'm going to throw it to you. When I was watching film study today, Ty, I was actually thinking you probably have a pretty good take on Jocko. And I'll just throw my take at you real quick. I have a concern with Jocko because he did have those 3 losses, I believe, before the long layoff that he had. David Branch, Uriah Hall, and Brad Tavares. And I believe it was the Tavares fight that he did something. He had an ACL injury and he was out for a while. So he hasn't fought in a year. He pulled out of a fight in September. Missed the Russian card. Talking about what CG just mentioned, he referenced that Russian card, and Jocko was supposed to be on that Russian card. It just seems like he doesn't mind. He doesn't have that finishing instinct. In the fights that I watched against these opponents, and again, I only watch these opponents because I know them, so I can gauge the level of competition. But even against Brad Tavares, not an injured Brad Tavares, a healthy Brad Tavares, he wasn't looking to put him away at any point in the fight. He was looking to kind of point fight. And even in that third round, I'm pretty sure he was down 2 rounds, and Tavares winds up, getting a punch on the counter and knocking him out. I think it was a straight right. So I wasn't that impressed with Jocko. He looks like he's got good tools, but he doesn't have that finishing ability against the better fighters that I saw. And I'm also a little concerned with how does he win a decision, because I believe that he's losing fights because he's just not scoring enough. He's a little bit too much low volume for me. So what do you think? And again, 2.86 landed. There you go, low volume striking. So what do you think, Ty?
Okay, so in this fight, Amedovski, he's a knockout artist. He's looking for the knockout consistently. The one area that he struggles with, and he struggles with versus terrible wrestlers, is his wrestling defense. Jotko is going to be looking for the takedown, and so that kind of concerns me if I'm going to back Amedovski. So I really think that there's two possible outcomes for this fight. Either Jotko takes him down, grinds out a decision, or Amedovski knocks him out, which Jotko has been knocked out in his last 2 fights.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, you can get Jotko winning by decision at plus 235. Jotko by decision plus 235, and Amedovski plus 253 at winning inside the distance. I kind of think if you put 1 unit on each of those, you're guaranteed profit, because that's the only 2 ways that I see this fight happening.
That's not a bad idea at all. CG, I know you didn't like this fight. You want to add anything? Is he there?
Sorry about that. I had to put it on mute. So I know Jotko's coming off a 3-fight losing streak, but before that, he was on a 5-fight win streak. Amedovski is a wild striker. 8-0, all wins by KO, and 6 of those 8 wins came by KO in the first round. The thing is, he's only 5'10". He has a 73-inch reach, so Jotko has a 4-inch reach advantage. Jotko can land takedowns, and like Ty mentioned, we have no idea how Amedovski is going to fight off his back. I'm not sure if he's ever been taken down before. So if Jotko can get the fight to the ground and smother him, I mean, Jotko's somebody that trains at American Top Team. Jotko's somebody that has a win over Thales Leites in Brazil. So he's got some solid wins on his record. I think Jotko should win the fight, but he needs to get it to the ground.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I just wish that I knew that Jotko was definitely going to take it to the ground, because to bring up a fight last week that left a bad taste in my mouth. I thought that Eric Anders was going to take it to the ground. We were talking about that earlier off air, and he just didn't. And again, it cost him. So I wish I knew Jotko was going to take it to the ground, and then I'd have a little bit more confidence in him. Let's get right into this next fight. Antonia Shevchenko and Roxanne Modafferi. And I'll take this one just because I think that Antonia is going to be able to style on Roxanne Modafferi. There is a concern. My concern is if she's able to take her down and grind her. Modafferi is a very, very hard worker. She's going to go hard for 3 rounds. She empties the gas tank, and that's something that a lot of fighters, when you hear the corner late in the 2nd round or in the 3rd round when they're on the stool, a lot of the coaches are telling them, you got to empty your gas tank right now. You got to empty your gas tank. And I was listening to Israel Adesanya, and basically that, he talked about that. He talked about going into the 5th round. His coach basically said it's probably 2-2. You got to find that place. You got to go to that place, and you got to do it right now. And obviously Israel had a great 5th round, so coach actually got the best out of him right there. But I think that Modafferi, very good coaching, Syndicate MMA, she's Las Vegas. I'm sure she spends a lot of time at the PI. And she works very hard. She's fought very, very good competition in her career. She's been around forever. 22-15 is her record. And again, yeah, it's not a great record, but she's fought the best, fighters in her weight classes for all those years. So she has a lot of experience. With that being said, Antonia is just a different. She's different on the ground, on the feet. I'm sorry, and she's different in the clinch. In the clinch, she's very, very good with her knees. She did a lot of damage in the clinch against Kim in her last fight. So again, if the fight stays standing, which obviously Antonia is going to want it to be, I think she's going to pick Roxanne apart. If Roxanne is able to drag her to the ground, I'm not really sure. I'm not confident enough that Antonia is going to be able to really win the round if Roxanne can get on top. So maybe you guys have more insight into what you expect from Antonia on top. But Ty, I'll throw it right back to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think that Shevchenko is better pretty much everywhere. She has a clear striking advantage. I think that she's actually can hold her own and is better on the ground. I don't love her price, though, because Roxanne is a wild card. I think it's going to be an easy fight, but I'm not really excited at paying the minus 360 price tag. I might put her in some parlays, maybe with Evelev and maybe a baseball game or a basketball game or something. And that's really the only action I want on this fight.
All right. CG, what do you think here?
Shevchenko by volume-based decision. I mean, she averages 6 strikes per minute. Modafferi seems like a delightful human being. I mean, but let's be honest. I mean, she's your stereotypical overachiever. She's not very gifted physically, doesn't have a whole lot of, natural talent. She utilizes everything that she has at her disposal, which isn't much. I'm not trying to be rude. It just is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, she works.
Yeah. She works hard and she's fighting at UFC level. So good for her, but she's definitely outmatched in this fight. And I think one of the safest lines on this card is Shevchenko by decision at, what is it? Shevchenko by decision minus 150. That might be my favorite line on this entire card because Modafferi's tough, right? Modafferi doesn't get finished a whole lot. Modafferi went 3 rounds with Eubanks.
Yeah, she did.
Want to say she went the distance with Raquel Pennington. I mean, she's tough to put away.
And take it a step further, Antonia hasn't finished people.
Yeah.
If you look at some of her previous fights, I think she finished on the Contender Series. Didn't she finish with some knees in the second round? I think it was in the clinch. She did that clinch work.
Yeah, you're right. She definitely won that fight inside the distance.
Yeah, but I think a lot of her other fights, I don't think many of them finished.
Yeah, Modafferi is not easy to put away. So I love that line, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to
Shevchenko by decision, minus 150.
I do like that line. Ty, I'm going to throw this next one right back to you because I think that I wanted to get your take on this because Devin Clark and Ivan Strokov, I mean, that's a Russian name right there. Ivan Strokov, that's a Russian name. These guys are very, very similar in terms of their game plan. Devin Clark has had some success against some of the better fighters, like early in the Alexander Rakic fight, he had a little bit of success. But that finished abruptly when the success kind of weaned. This guy Strokov, I think, is going to be better than Devin Clark at the same thing that Devin Clark does. And I think he's going to be stronger because this guy is very, very muscular. I think we're in for a big weight cut from this guy. And if he makes weight, I mean, I think he's going to be back up to like 220, 225, maybe even, more than that on fight night. He's fought a couple heavyweight fights and basically held his own and won those fights. So his one draw was in a fight that was at heavyweight. And the guy was much bigger than him. And, and I think he was carrying about 235. So, these two guys are very similar. I think they're going to have a very similar path in this fight, a lot of wrestling. But who gets the better of the striking exchanges, Ty? What do you think here?
Well, so I'm actually waiting for the line to come out to see if this guy pops for steroids. He's huge. He's humongous. You can't think that that's natural. But I'm actually waiting on more lines to drop. I'm hoping that there's a round prop that comes out because I think that Ivan's only chance to win is in the first round. The first round by knockout. Devin Clark doesn't have the greatest chin, and Ivan is going to gas after that first round. So I think that Devin Clark has more ways to win this fight, but the fact that he has a weak chin and this guy has so much power, I'm kind of hesitant. I want to wait till the line props come out. because maybe if you could get decent odds value on Ivan round 1, it might be worth playing him in round 1, and then Devin Clark you're getting as an underdog other than that.
Now, if you look at the Devin Clark fight, Ty, against I didn't write down his name, but who's the tall guy that he fought over? I believe it was in Brooklyn. It was either in Brooklyn or
Rodriguez.
Yeah. Didn't he gas out Devin Clark like late in that second round into the third round? He was kind of like a lay and pray clinch against the cage and try to just stay on top. I think they even got stood up once or twice. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know Devin Clark won a grappling-based decision. Yeah.
And
whether or not he was whether or not he was gassing out, I guess I couldn't really tell. But
yeah, I thought he was gassing out. That's the only thing I was thinking, Ty, when you were saying that. I'm just a little concerned about Clark too, because like you said, this guy Ivan is freaking big, man.
Ivan has gas tank issues more so than Clark. I'm not really worried about Clark's gas tank.
Okay.
You know, the fight versus Rodriguez, you said was grappling heavy. I don't really remember that fight. But I know that with Ivan, he gasses after 3 minutes. So, I mean, when you carry that much muscle mass around, you're going to make a pretty substantial weight cut. He's going to gas if he doesn't finish the fight early. My only concern with this fight with backing Devin Clark is his chin. Ivan's going to be looking to land a big punch, put him away. Is Clark's chin, is he going to be able to avoid that punch? Is his chin going to hold up to it? That's why I think that this is either a first round for Ivan or Devin Clark's going to win the fight.
All right. CG, what do you think? Any plays here?
So Ivan is what I'm seeing 15-0. Looks like 6 TKOs, 5 subs. But the thing is, he beats some reputable guys too. UFC vets like Bigfoot Silva, Maldonado, Phil DeVries, Rico Rodriguez. One of the notes that I have down is steroids. I mean, this guy is a brick shithouse. I'm not as concerned about him gassing out because I'm looking on ShareDog right now, and 3 out of his last 5 fights went to round 3, which is surprising. But I think what is it, Shuderkov? Well, Ivan, whatever's name.
I'm calling him Strikeoff. I don't know.
Strikeoff, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at his wins, and Devin Clark, you know, he's 9-3. He's been knocked out twice since he's been to the UFC, right? Rakic knocked him out, and Nicholson knocked him out. Then he was subbed by Blachowicz. So, I mean, I can't trust Devin Clark's chin. Ivan's on steroids. I think I might place a bet for Ivan inside the distance in this fight. It just seems like kind of a setup. I don't know.
We have a little disagreement. Does Ivan have any? Does he have any submission upside, or should we look for the KO TKO? Or you like the inside the distance that much?
He's got out of 15 wins, 11 finishes, 6 TKOs, 5 submissions. He subbed Thiago Silva by armbar in his last fight. So Thiago Silva, I want to say, is at least a brown belt. Not that the belts really matter, but
no, but there's definitely the upside. I mean, it's not. Yeah. It's not like he's never submitted anybody. I didn't notice. Yeah. I didn't pay attention to that when I was watching. So CG, I'm going to throw it right back to you. I kind of know what your take is, and I think I'm in disagreement. But Sergey Pavlovich and Marcelo Gome. Go ahead. What do you think about this one?
So, yeah. Pavlovich, I thought, looked like absolute dog shit in his last fight against Alistair Overeem. I mean, to me, watching that fight, it just looked like Pavlovich quit. He tried to contest on his feet, realized that he was outmatched. The fight hit the ground, and it just seemed like he gave up. But Pavlovich has a 12-1 record, 9 wins by KO. All of Pavlovich's KOs ended in the first round. So the other 3 fights that he won by decision, yeah, I mean, so basically what that tells me is he's either going to knock you out in the first round or he loses power. And if he wins, he has to beat you by decision. I think Gome is a decent prospect. A lot of people are criticizing him because he lost his last 2 fights. Tim Johnson beat him doing what Tim Johnson does. He just holds you against the cage and dry humps you for 15 minutes. And then he got wrestle-fucked by Arjun Bowler, who's an Olympian-level wrestler. But I'm not going to hold that against him. If Golm can fight somebody that's willing to stand and trade with him, I think he has a good shot. And I think Pavlovich has a lot of quit in him. So to get Golm at dog money in this fight, why not? I can't trust Pavlovich, and I don't know why anybody could at this point. So the one thing Pavlovich has going for him is, I'm looking right now, it says that Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach. As far as I know, that ties John Bones Jones for the biggest in the UFC. I don't think anybody exceeds 84 inches. And then Golm is, right there at 75-inch reach. So, I mean, that's a pretty big disparity, but does Pavlovich know how to use it? I'm not sure. So I don't trust Pavlovich. So in this spot, it's dog or pass.
Ty, what do you think?
This fight kind of confuses me. I think that Golm does have a path to victory. I think that he could probably get this fight to the ground, and I think if he does, it's pretty easy for him. That being said, if it remains standing, it's kind of a toss-up. I'm probably going to stay away from this fight. Man, that Golm at plus 230 though is enticing, but right now I'm not gonna place anything. I'm just gonna kind of wait and see. Right, I kind of want to see how they look at the weigh-ins also, just because I don't really think that the price is going to sway too much in this fight, but so I kind of want to do more research on this because I really just don't know right now.
So this is my take, and I actually have a pretty strong take on this fight. And CG, I kind of set you up because I knew what you were saying this afternoon in the group chat. So if you go back and watch that Golm fight, say what you must about Timothy Johnson. Yes, that's exactly how CG described it. If you look at the Arjun Bueller fight, after the first 3 minutes, Arjun Bueller was able to just stick his jab right in Golm's face. Golm's face was all bloodied up, and the guy literally doesn't move his head. And I was shocked because coming into the fight, I remember last time when we were looking, Arjun Bueller, everyone was saying he's an Olympic wrestler, although it's for Canada, and who knows, do they even have an Olympic wrestling team or whatever? But take it for what it's worth. Bueller wasn't known for his striking, and he's popping the jab and popping Golm right in the face with his jab. So you mean to tell me that Pavlovich, who has a 9-inch reach advantage, isn't going to do the same thing? So I went back to the Overeem fight and then watched that fight after, right? So I watched the Golm fight first, then watched the Pavlovich fight after. And I'm like, yeah, this guy throws his jab. He was jabbing Alistair Overeem early in that fight. Good movement on his feet, good stiff jab. Overeem initiated the clinch, got an opportunistic trip, and Pavlovich, I think, was just – you're right. You said he quit, CG. I don't know if he quit as much as I think he thought he was just going to grind out the rest of the round, stay on his back, and he wasn't going to have anything to worry about. Go to the end of the first round, get his first round of UFC experience under his belt, come out in round 2 and go from there. And then all of a sudden, Overeem, who couldn't really do anything on the ground, didn't want to engage with him on the ground for a few seconds, and then all of a sudden caught him with a pretty decent right hand on the ground and finished him. So that's kind of what I saw. I saw it was an opportunistic trip kind of in the middle of the cage. I think Pavlovich is better than that. Again, he's got a Greco-Roman wrestling background. I don't think he gets tripped often. I don't think he's going to get put on his back often either. And I think Golm wants to box. And if you're going to box with a guy who's got a 9-inch reach advantage and a jab, he does jab. I think Pavlovich's going to jab his face off. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 3-round fight and if it went to decision. Both of these guys have big overhand rights. How often they're going to throw it, we'll find out obviously in this fight. But I actually like Pavlovich pretty much. I don't like the minus 270. If it was more like maybe 150 to 170, I'd like it a lot more. He was actually the betting favorite against Overeem too. I don't know if you saw that in the tape study.
It was. Yeah, no, that's sound analysis. It's not just the quit job that concerns me against Overeem. I don't think his striking's very technical. It looked a little bit sloppy to me. I wasn't impressed by it. Not that Golm is very fluid either. He's not. But, I mean, I just think that if it turns into a brawling match, then it's going to be a coin toss. And Golm doesn't strike me as somebody that will quit. If he loses the fight, it's because he's going to beat decisively, but he will fight to the very end. I can't say the same about Pavlovich. I don't have a ton of confidence in Golm. All I know is that if Pavlovich can find a way out, if the going gets tough, he's going to get his ass going. So I like Golm. Dog or pass.
Yeah, and just, all truth be told, I'm pretty sure I had Golm over Bueller in that fight.
I did.
You did too?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I think I picked Golm too, and I think I had Overeem over Pavlovich in that last fight. And I thought that Overeem was going to get the best of him on the feet, and I was actually surprised early in the fight that Pavlovich looked so good. And then again, watching tape again this morning, I noticed the same thing. So Ty, you've been quiet for a while. CG and I've been throwing it back and forth. I'll open up this next fight with you. Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. And this guy Tsarukyan is pretty good. I didn't expect to see that, especially with the line, how it was. But he's 22 years old, and I was very impressed. I'm not saying he's coming out and he's going to beat Islam, but he's a pretty good fighter. So what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of hate that they put him against Makhachev in this fight. Just I think that he's a really good talent that they should have kind of guided along. I think that Arman is going to be better on the feet. That's not saying much because Makhachev doesn't really do much on the feet. But in terms of wrestling, both of these guys are really good wrestlers. I just think that Makhachev is a little bit stronger, and that's going to come into play. So I kind of side with Makhachev in this. I think the line at minus 370 is way more than it should be, because Arman is going to be game. But I'm going to stay away from choosing one side or the other because I do think Makhachev's going to win. I'm not going to take him at minus 370. But fight goes to decision at minus 125, I think, is a great play.
Yeah, and I just noticed too. I'm pretty sure this was lined almost minus 500 early in the week, and it was.
Was it?
Money came in, I guess, within the last 24 hours to get to minus. What do they have? Minus 370 right now. Yeah, it was lined at like 500 at one point.
I don't think that it's going to drop to the point where I feel comfortable taking Makhachev in this fight because I think at worst, if it keeps dropping, minus 300 is still going to be too much for me. So I'm going to stay away from playing that line. But the fight goes to decision at minus 125. I think that's an excellent play.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to keep my eye out for this guy, Arman. I'm really interested in watching him fight here. I actually wrote a note. I said I really like his plan, and I think that he should join Islam and Khabib and go train under Khabib's father after this because he fits right in with that Russian mentality. CG, what do you think here?
I'm in agreement with you guys. I think this Arman guy is a good prospect, but the problem is he's fighting Makhachev, and he is suffocating. He trains at AKA with Khabib and all those other monsters. And one thing that really impressed me about Makhachev is he was able to not only out-wrestle, but dominate Nik Lentz. Nik Lentz was, I want to say, a Big Ten All-American wrestler at the University of Minnesota. And then he fought guys like Chris Wade, who's, not a household name by any means, but a tough guy. And, he just dominates people. He's not even in the top 10 at 155, but he's not even in the top 15. But he can beat numerous guys in the top 10 with his wrestling, with his volume, with the rinse and repeat takedowns, with his top control. Makhachev's a beast. This guy just got a bad draw. He was put in the spot to lose. But, so at the same time, this Arman guy kind of reminds me of that guy that fought Michel Prazeres in that last fight. I don't know if you guys remember. Prazeres was, I want to say, was the biggest favorite on that card, and he was fighting this Russian from Austria that nobody knew about. The guy looked impressive, had a good record, and Prazeres lost that fight. So the same thing could very well happen in this fight. That's why
for 3 rounds.
He beat him soundly for 3 rounds, and that's the thing. This guy Arman, he has an impressive record of 13-1. He has 5 TKOs, 5 subs. He's on a 12-fight winning streak. He could win the fight, I guess. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it's a probable outcome, but I mean, we just never know. That's why I don't like betting on these first-time UFC fighters. But I mean, yeah, gun to my head, Makhachev wins a grappling-based decision, or maybe even scores a finish.
Yeah, and again, and you even mentioned about Makhachev being top 15 or fringe top 15. It is the 155-pound division. I mean, it's the best division in the UFC. So if you're top 15, I mean, you're a stud. You know what I mean?
Just real quick, who do you guys have? Makhachev versus Paul Felder. Who wins that fight?
I think Makhachev.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think that Felder wins on the feet, but Makhachev wins on the ground. And I think it's going to go to the ground. So I would probably say Makhachev.
In the ninth spot, we have Anthony Pettis. I think Makhachev beats Pettis too.
Again, is Pettis going to go back to that division?
Yeah, who knows? I'm just saying the UFC rankings are bogus. Makhachev's a beast.
Yeah, he's a future title contender, I think, and that's why I hate this spot for Arman, because he looks like such a good prospect, and they're kind of throwing him in there in his home country.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get off topic here. I'm just saying that Makhachev, you can make a case that he's top 8 in the world in the UFC's most competitive division. I mean, he's really that good.
Yeah, no, he is. And even take it a step further, you know, he's 16-1. He has that one loss. And if anybody wants to, you can look it up. But I guess Habib's dad is the one who kind of sends these Russian guys to AKA, right? He's the one that sends him to Javier Mendez.
Correct.
And Habib's dad is on record as saying that he told Islam and the coaches that he should be grappling and getting Adriano Martins down to the ground. And it was the one thing that he told – he basically said Islam should be undefeated. You know, and again, he's so respectful that he's not going to say that he was coached incorrectly, but he basically says Islam went against my wishes. So that's Habib's father's basically saying, bro, get him down to the ground, grind him out, get yourself a win, and you would have been 17-0 undefeated and probably top 15 fighting against those guys. Because honestly, why is he fighting this guy making his UFC debut in the co-main event of this card? I know it's in Russia, but that's basically the only reason why. You know, so let's go to this headliner, if you want to call it that, Alistair Overeem and Alexei Oleinik. And again, Overeem is the kind of guy who has wins over very good competition at heavyweight. You're talking about Verdum, Hunt, JDS, Roy Nelson, and his losses most recently have been against the guys who are basically in contention for the belt, right? Curtis Blades, if he didn't lose to Ngannou, Alistair lost to Ngannou. That uppercut that basically lifted him off his feet. Stipe Miocic knocked him out too. So Overeem's chin has been, touched up a little bit. I don't necessarily think that Oleinik is going to be looking to do that. I think he's going to be looking to get it down to the ground. He's got that submission upside. So Ty, what do you think here? Is it Overeem by decision, Overeem by knockout, or Oleinik by submission? I think those are the three most likely outcomes.
So I actually think the opposite. I think Overeem's going to take it to the ground. And yeah, so Curtis Blades kind of paved the path to how to dominate Oleinik. He took him down 4 times. I know Overeem isn't the type of wrestler that Curtis Blades is, but he does have some decent wrestling. He averages 1.42 takedowns per fight at a 62% rate, and Oleinik has 11% takedown defense. He's a terrible wrestler. Overeem knows that his chin is not great. I think that he's going to fight a smart game plan, take this fight to the ground, and he could just knock him out with ground and pound. Or if he wants to go back to his old style and submit him, I think that he has every advantage on the ground. I'm from top position, so I'm not too worried about it. I think that Overeem inside the distance at -175 is a good play.
So CG, I'm going to send it to you. Should I put $3,000 on this fight to finish inside the distance, -555?
You should, and I agree with Ty. I like Overeem inside the distance too. I just feel like he has more outs. If Overeem can avoid the Ezekiel choke, he will win the fight. If he keeps it on his feet, he should obviously has the superior striking, former K1 champion. But even if he gets it to the ground, I don't think it's a wise move. I would keep it standing. But even if he gets it to the ground, I mean, he showed in in his last fight against Pavlovich that his ground and pound is very nasty. I mean, he landed some hammer fists on Pavlovich that were just fucking vicious. So I think he can win the fight just about anywhere, but he's got to be smart. And the fact that he was able to beat Fabricio Verdum 4 fights ago, I mean, if he can avoid the submission against Verdum, he can avoid the submission against Oleinik. And I will say that, I mean, Overeem, God, the guy has over 60 professional fights. I mean, just don't do anything stupid. Don't get subbed. Don't keep your limbs hanging out there. Don't give Oleinik something to grab onto. Just fight a smart fight. Hopefully you can find the knockout. What is Oleinik? Damn near 45 years old. Born in 1977.
I wrote down. I mean, Overeem's 38.
Yeah. I think Overeem should, have a easy path to victory here in this fight, and I like him to win inside the distance. So Overeem inside the distance is -170. What's Overeem by TKO? Oh, that's not out yet, is it?
Yeah, no, I don't have it out yet.
No. I think that's the line to bet if it makes a big difference. If not, then just do Overeem inside the distance.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go too, because even on the ground, it'll be ground and pound, KO, TKO type of referee stoppage. I don't know why Overeem would want to bring it to the ground though. I mean, I understand what Ty's saying, but to me that's the place where Oleinik can work the best part of his game and lock that in. Go ahead, Ty. I'm sure you have a reason why you think that.
Well, Oleinik's not good off of his back. He's only good when he's dictating the pace. If he's in top control, he's decent. And most of his submissions are that Ezekiel choke. I mean, Overeem has a good submission grappling base. Early in his career, he was all about submissions. The weak spot in his game is his chin. So why stand up with this guy that has potential to hurt you when you have a clear path to victory?
Refresh my memory. Do you remember back to the Mark Hunt fight, Oleinik Mark Hunt? Wasn't he rolling around? Didn't he grab Mark Hunt's leg, like kind of drag him down and then get the rear naked choke?
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, no, that was about right. Because I remember people were driving me nuts because they were like, oh, Hunt's going to win because Oleinik doesn't have good wrestling. And I'm looking at Oleinik's takedowns per fight, and it's about three takedowns per 15 minutes. And I guess my mentality was, who gives a flying fuck whether or not he has good wrestling? He either gets the fight to the ground or he doesn't. If it's sloppy, who gives a shit? And right. Oleinik does get fights to the ground. I mean, that's a pretty good rate. And yeah, it was, if memory serves correctly, it was a rear naked choke. It was kind of inverted, and Hunt may have even had an arm up. So it may have been like it was either a rear naked choke or an arm triangle.
Yeah, he fought it for a little bit, but then he couldn't fight it off completely.
Yeah. I don't think Overeem's battle tested. I don't think he's stupid enough to, get caught with an Ezekiel choke. I mean, that was Victor Pesta. That was Junior Albini. Overeem should be too smart for that.
And not just that, Overeem has better takedown defense than Mark Hunt does. I mean, Mark Hunt is awkward. It was his last fight, or was it his last fight or one of his last?
I think he had one more, right? Didn't he have?
Yeah, he fought Justin Willis. Yeah.
And I mean, at that point, he's essentially already done with his career. He's just fighting out his contract. He wasn't happy with his contract at the time because of the steroid issues and stuff. I don't have nearly the same fears with Overeem when it comes to the ground. Overeem is good on the ground. And I mean, he's not top level, but he's serviceable on the ground. He's not going to get caught in a Ezekiel choke. He's not going to get caught in stupid positions. His only path that he loses fights is getting knocked out. If you look at the early part of his career, Overeem was a submission guy. He was a ground expert, and he transitioned to a kickboxer.
Okay. All right. Again, maybe we agree to disagree. I don't think Overeem's going to take it there, but that's not what I saw in my analysis. But again, what these guys do from fight to fight is I get in the coach's hands and what they're most comfortable with. So
what's your favorite bet for this fight, Steve?
Favorite
and Ty, both of you.
Let me look it over real quick. Favorite bet. I mean, does it have to be something somewhat decent or just
it can be anything? My favorite is Overeem inside the distance at -175.
I'm going to go with something safe. Like I'm going to go with like Antagulov, Mikhail, all those Juk. I can't even say his name. Like that's going to finish. You know, like I would play that inside the distance. I'd play the main event inside the distance. Maybe even another fight, like throw Antonia in a fight with Evloev, like a 4-way parlay. I think all of that happens. Favorite one? I don't have anything close that I love.
Oh man, there's so many parlay bets that just have me salivating. Clark and
I actually was thinking that, CG.
Inside the distance, Shevchenko, Modafferi going to decision, Oleinik and Overeem ending inside the distance. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made on Saturday.
I think my favorite bet might be the Yakovlev play at minus.
Yeah, Ty said that. I wrote that down. I'm actually going to look into that a little bit more. But I do like that play. I wrote that one down.
I mean, are you going to look into it like you looked into Taha last week? Or
I actually did play Taha on like 2 lines. I probably wouldn't have had any Taha if you didn't say it. I did play it on 2 lines.
I was 100%. I called the knockout. I didn't expect it in 15 seconds, but I figured he was going to knock him out. And I even said it last week on the show. On both of the shows, actually.
My GPP calls last week were terrible. My cash calls were on the money. I had my cash line scored 530. My GPP calls were terrible. Again, I stacked the main event and played Gastelum, and then was able to get Brandon Davis in my cash lineup. Who else did I have? Montel Jackson and another winner. I forget who it was, but it was
okay. How did you guys score the main event? Did you score at 49-46?
No. I want to go a step further. Before we get into this, and CG said it before, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like I don't mind these conversations. I think these conversations make this very unique, and we should do more of this. But CG, go ahead, answer that question.
No, so I thought that Poirier and Holloway was like I had it honestly as like almost an even draw. I'm trying to look back. Poirier obviously took round 1. Holloway was winning round 2 until he got rocked. So I can kind of see how the judges would give round 2 to Poirier, but I thought Holloway decisively won round 3. I mean, rounds 3 through 5, I want to say I scored for Holloway.
Yeah.
There were times where Holloway was rocked though, but still, I mean.
Yeah, I thought round 1 was easy for Poirier, and I thought round 3 and 4 were for Max. 2 and 5 were kind of close.
We're close, yeah.
And I scored at 48-47 for Max. I expected Max to win a split decision, and when they said 49-46, I was really confused because I before they announced who won, I thought that they were going to give it 49-46 to Max because the only round that was clearly won by Poirier was round 1, in my opinion. And I thought that it wasn't even close in round 3 and 4 for Max. And so I was kind of confused by that. But
now let me ask you this. What did you score in terms of damage inflicted? Because I think that's the difference. Because Max did technically outstrike him by significant strikes. I don't know if you saw the actual numbers, but I think Max had like 6 more significant strikes by the fight. But damage inflicted, I think, is the difference in the fight.
But you have to score each round as a unique fight in a 10-point must system. Most of the damage that Poirier did was in the first round. Outside of the knee that landed in the later rounds, most of Poirier's damage that he inflicted was in round 1. So if you clear the slate going into round 2, you can't really say that Poirier did a lot more damage outside of that one knee. And so, I mean, it's kind of hard, but I don't really think that Max only won 1 round in that fight.
And again, Ty, I'll give you my opinion, but I do tend to just agree with you when it comes to judging, only because you have judged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would give round 1 to Poirier, as you said. I would give round 2 to Poirier also. I gave round 3 to Holloway. I think round 4 was the toss-up round, but I thought round 5 was Poirier also. So I had a 3-1 with round 4 being the toss-up.
So I'm on Fight Metric right now. So apparently Poirier had more significant strikes than Holloway in rounds 1 and 5. I'm sorry, rounds 1, 2, and 5. Holloway outlanded in round 3 and 4. So, but that's significant strikes, not total strikes.
Yeah, and see, I thought round 3 and 4 were for Max, and I didn't even think they were really that close.
I did too. Yeah. So I think Holloway landed more head strikes. Poirier landed more body strikes. Maybe that came into play. I don't know. But once I heard the 49-46, I was with you. I was like, all right, well, it has to be Holloway. And I didn't think it was going to be that decisive for Poirier, but it had to come down to damage inflicted.
Yeah, and that's really what I thought, damage inflicted, especially since a lot of the damage was early, as Ty said. But I think you can't really stop the bleeding, right? Once you're bleeding, even in the 3rd round, you get hit again in the nose or whatever, you're still bleeding. Was it more damage? Was it just the existing damage? But yeah.
I think the whole concept of significant strikes is stupid as hell. How do you differentiate a strike and a significant strike? When there's a jab that sets up a right cross, that's pretty fucking significant, right? I mean, how do you differentiate, and what is the criteria? It's stupid. It should be solely based on total strikes, in my opinion.
Well, and again, the judges don't get those numbers.
Right.
So all that really does, I mean, Ty, tell me if I'm wrong, but all that really does is kind of second guess the judges when they put that stuff on the
so
and break it down. No.
So I actually had this argument with one of my buddies that he bets on fights. He doesn't play fantasy. He just bets on fights. He doesn't get too in depth with the other stuff. But so me and him both thought Max won, and then the next day he was still pissed off about it because he lost a lot of money on the fight, and he sent me all the punch stat numbers. I essentially told him, I go, punch stat numbers are pretty much the most worthless stat in MMA. It looks good. It looks good so you can follow stats like other sports. But if a guy lands 100 significant strikes in round 1 in a 5-round fight and doesn't land another punch, it still shows he landed 100 significant strikes, but he lost the next 4 rounds. So it doesn't really matter with the 10-point MUT system. And so, it's kind of one of the weakest arguments in mixed martial arts. So it's kind of irrelevant stats that we just follow for fantasy sports and just to know stats, I guess.
And again, the judging system is objective. So that's more or less where that comes in.
And another thing that people don't have the perspective of is if something happens on the far side of the cage, that judge is seeing that action better. They're hearing the punches. They're seeing the punches. They know if it lands clean.
Yeah.
You could hear the other person's breathing and their reaction to it, but the judge on the opposite side, he might not see that. And so sometimes that's why, like, if you watch the fight on TV, you're like, oh my God, how did they score this fight for this guy? And it's kind of perspective of where you're at in the cage. There was one particular fight I was scoring that there was a fight that went to the ground, and from my vantage point, it looked like the guy was trying to get a choke in, but didn't sink it in. The judge that was right there heard the guy gargling and fighting for air, and so I scored it for the other guy because he dictated more of the round. But that judge knew how close it was to actually coming to finish. So it's kind of different vantage points where you're at in the cage for different perspectives.
Yeah, that's some pretty good insight. And I'll even give you, something that I regretted last week. I don't know if you guys remember, but I threw you guys the co-main event, and I said, I'm not even interested in this fight, the Adesanya and Kelvin Gastelum fight, and shit was I wrong. That could have been the fight of the year.
I did tell you that Gastelum was going to test his chin, and he
did. He did it in round 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
CG, what did you think about Gastelum after he tested that chin and then went in for the takedown?
I don't like it. It bothered me. I keep on seeing different opinions on Twitter, but if you have somebody compromised against the cage, go for the kill. People, everybody has a different opinion, right? Oh, he was gassed out, so he went for the takedown. I mean, we don't know what was happening. I mean, I don't think Gastelum was that gassed out. I mean, he went the entire 5 rounds. I don't get it. I mean, I know Gastelum was a wrestling background. He probably thought he could take him down and, initiate some ground and pound and end the fight. But you got a guy rocked. You have him on chicken legs. Go for the kill. If I was in that position, I think I would just start throwing wild hooks. And if Adesanya was able to, get himself out of that situation, then, just adapt and do something else. But in that situation, I definitely would not have gone for the takedown.
Yeah, Ty, I'll throw it to you and then we'll end off for this Brews and Bets. But the one thing that I would say about that is I think you got to gauge who you're fighting, right? Like you're fighting Adesanya, who doesn't really have that knockout power, and you tried to take him down. Like, what were you worried about? That he was going to catch you with a straight punch? He's not a knockout guy.
Well, I kind of think what Gastelum might have been thinking was he knows he had him hurt. If he's compromised to that extent, that he might be able to take him down and work ground and pound and finish the fight. And I mean, to everybody, it kind of looks ill-advised, but if that was his thinking and he actually got him down to the ground, now he holds a 100% advantage over a striker. And I mean, from there, we haven't really seen Adesanya on the ground too much.
Right.
He could submit him. He could work his ground and pound. And if that was his thinking, it's not the worst thinking. But, I mean, if you have him compromised, Gastelum can knock out anybody. And I think there was 2 instances in that fight where he could have went in for the kill on Adesanya that he'll probably regret.
Yeah, I just thought that he should have went for the kill right there.
What a fight that was, though.
Yeah,
fight of the year, in my opinion, and I was completely wrong. I had no interest in even breaking it down, and I was completely wrong.
That being said, Adesanya talking shit to John Jones is a mistake because John Jones will destroy him.
Oh yeah,
that's not it. I mean, it's not even close. I don't know why he's doing it. Maybe he wants a money fight, but it's just going to end up destroying everything that he's worked for. Because I actually think he's going to get knocked out versus Robert Whittaker.
Well, again, he wants the money fight, but he has nothing to lose, right? It would be the money fight like Max going up to 155 for a money fight.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He's not going to lose his belt. He's going to keep the belt if he does get it, and then he gets a big.
And I kind of think it's prolonging his 15 minutes because I think that Whittaker is going to put him unconscious. And I mean, what I seen in Adesanya this fight, he finally fought somebody that throws with some intent. I know he fought Anderson Silva, but Anderson Silva is not nearly the same as he used to be. He finally fought a guy that was decent in stand-up. When he fights Robert Whittaker, Whittaker's going to put him out.
I think Adesanya is going to beat Whittaker.
Ooh.
I do. Yeah.
We could have a friendly little side bet on that. I think he's going to put him out pretty quick.
Whittaker came out and says, I hit harder than Gastelum. Whittaker obviously has better kicks than Gastelum. Whittaker does not punch as hard as Gastelum.
I don't think he's that far off, actually. But what I've seen in this fight, I think he's a lot faster than Gastelum. And what I've seen in this fight is Adesanya doesn't have the greatest striking defense.
Ty, I haven't seen it yet. Line that fight. Gastelum, Whittaker, line that fight.
Ooh.
Gastelum versus Whittaker?
Yeah.
Or Adesanya and Whittaker.
Adesanya and Whittaker. Adesanya and Whittaker. Line that fight.
I would say it's going to be close to even just because the public perception of Adesanya. But I think that towards fight time, Adesanya is going to be the favorite.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Adesanya minus 150.
Really?
Yeah. But I think it's going to open right around even, like minus 120 on each side. But the public movement is going to go towards Adesanya because they think he's better than he is.
Due to a combination of recency bias and Whittaker coming off a hernia surgery.
And a torn rectum, too. I don't know if you guys watched Joe Rogan, but they talked about the torn rectum.
Really?
Yeah, I figured I'd make it as awkward as possible right now. But yeah, if you watch Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub. Joe Rogan pressed Brendan Schaub to comment on coming back from a torn rectum. I don't know if he knew something about Brendan Schaub that nobody else did, but that's what happened. I agree with what you guys just said, but recency bias and all that other stuff. But I really thought that it would be like Whittaker minus 150, minus 170. That's what I think.
The public thinks that Adesanya is a lot better than he is, and he's good, but I just don't think that he's ready for somebody like Whittaker. Him calling out John Jones is stupid. Yeah, like I don't know. I just don't buy into him being as good as a lot of people do.
He can't beat John Jones, but I think he can beat Robert Whittaker. But I can't wait for that fight. They have to have that fight in Australia, right?
Or New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to.
If they have a stadium big enough in New Zealand. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably going to be in Sydney or somewhere.
So I guess we can't make this a 2-hour show, guys. We got to finish at some point. So we got a big announcement for next week. With that being said, everybody enjoy your bets for this week. Go back, hit us up on Twitter. All the guys, once I put this page up, and it'll be on YouTube, and we'll sound out a bunch of clips, just like we did last week. By all means, follow us on Twitter and hit us up. Ask us any questions you have. All right, good luck with your bet.